Hello everyone, this is Tommy again. So this is just a brief, I just want to show you on Excel why investing, time is your greatest ally. So this is a scenario between Mr. A and Mr. B. So today, Mr. A decided to put in $50,000 into investment. I am putting this as a negative value because the money is going out of your pocket. So it's negative. And now we have the market doing an average rate of return of 8%. And the number of years that Mr. A put in this money, let's say 40 years. So let's say Mr. A is 20 now, and then he put in this money over 40 years before his retirement. Now, let's calculate the future value of this money. That's FV. And then we're going to put in all of this value. The rate is 8%. The number of years is 40. No, we're not doing PMT here because we're not doing making periodic payments. It was just a lump sum that Mr. A puts into this investment at the beginning of the year. So we'll put a 1 there. So you see the future value of this money. Future value of this money is, where's my bold button? Yeah, is $1,086,000. Now let's look at Mr. B. If Mr. B decides to put 60,000, which is even more money than Mr. A, and then the market does the same, but Mr. B had 35 years to actually put this money to work in the investment vehicle that they had picked. So now let's check for the future value of Mr. B's money with the same rate of return at 8%, and the number of years now being 35 years, and the present value being 60,000. That's the lump sum that was put into this investment. I'm putting 1 because this money was put in at the beginning of the period. So we see that Mr. B has $887,120.66. This, if we do a subtraction of this two, then you'd see what Mr. B could have made if he had started to put money in for putting money away for retirement earlier. Now, let's go to another scenario whereby you're not putting in a lump sum, but you're making a yearly contribution into your investment vehicle. So this time around, there is no present value. Instead, we have a periodic payment amount, and that is, let's say, $10,000. That is what Mr. A is putting in now. The number of years remains 40 and the interest rate remains 8%. So every year, Mr. A puts in 8%, and for Mr. B, it's the same assumed rate of return for the market, and now we're having 35 years. And this time around, Mr. B decided to be very adventurous and is putting in, let's say, 14,000, which is way more than what Mr. A is putting into the market. Now let's calculate what the future value is for this investment using, I'm going to move this a bit away, using the same interest rate, 8%, and then the number of years is 40. The PMT we have this time around is 10,000. That means he's making a lump sum on a yearly basis of $10,000 into the investment plan at the beginning of the year. So I'm putting a 1 there. See, this is what he has at the end of 40 years with this yearly contribution of $10,000. Now let's do the same thing for Mr. B. If Mr. B does the same and has a interest rate of 8%, I beg your pardon, that's 8%, and the number of years this time around is 35, and then the periodic payment is 14,000, which is way more than what Mr. A had done. So this is what Mr. B has at the end of the day. So that means that Mr. A still has a greater return than Mr. B, assuming that the market does a rate of return of 8%. So that is why time is your greatest ally. If you're young, this is the best time to start investing. This is the best time to start planning for your retirement. And then, so I don't want to make this video long. I'm going to explain this in another video, how to calculate Okay, so in this scenario, Mr. A has said, I'm going to retire when I'm 60. But when I'm 60, I want to be able to receive $45,000 every year for the next 30 years. So that means I want an income in my account at the beginning of the year, which is 45,000. I'll decide how I want to spread that across the months, but I want 45,000 income for 30 years. And we're assuming that the rate of return of the market is 8%. How much is Mr. A going to put into the market today for him to get that value in the future? Now let's calculate what is the present value that Mr. A needs to get in order to have this kind of income for the next 30 years when he retires. So this is the rate, the number of years we say is 30. The PMT, the periodic payments in the future, is 45,000, and we are saying at the beginning of the year. So you see that Mr. A needs $547,128.27 today in order to meet up with this plan for the future. So that means that you need to start putting in money aside if you want this in the future.